Hey gang, what's up? It's Jason. Welcome to 19 for 20, talking about implicit bias. We're going to have a conversation about implicit bias, also known as unconscious bias. Folks are starting to check out. Sorry I'm a few minutes late, but that's me. I am unfortunately late often, so my friends will tell you. So let's see. I have some friends who are going to check in a little bit. I was trying to get some really great experts to come in here and talk to you. Some people from a Harvard institute called Project Implicit, and I was trying to get some people who actually coined the phrase implicit bias. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any of those people, but I have some people that I think you're going to still enjoy. I think I'm going to see if I can get Barrett Doss, and I think Jaina Lee Ortiz may even be on here. We're going to talk about it a little bit and get into a conversation. But hopefully you all had a chance to check out the video that I did the other day. I dropped it the other day. That was the first of 19 for 20, talking about what implicit bias is, and as far as I understand it. And I'd love to hear you guys beat it up, because I love it because it's a term that people used to talk about prejudice, but today we understand that it's bigger than that, because prejudice has come to mean the same thing as being racist, and that's not the case. It's not that simple. It's bigger than that. It's all the little things all the way up to the big things, up to and including full out racism. And so it's all of us understanding that we've all got a point of view, and we don't understand every aspect of life from other people's perspective. And so we misstep, and we expect the world to work the way we expect the world to work. And that's not the truth. So I'm going to see if I can find some of, let's see if I can find, I thought Jaina Lee Ortiz was going to be on here. I thought Barrett Doss was going to be on here too. Let's see if I can get hold of some of these people. Sorry for that, y'all. I'm going to reach out to Barrett Doss, because she was actually the one who came up with this great idea of 19 for 20, because she said she just kept seeing friends and people having reactions saying that they didn't know that much about the issues, and they felt like they couldn't have a real conversation. And so that's wow. Why am I not finding it? Barrett, if you're on, hit me up. We can try and see if we can. I'm trying to see if I can, if you send me a request to join me, Barrett, and you too, Jaina, whichever you get hold of first. And then I want to actually get around to hollering at some of the fans and see if some of the fans want to jump in and jaw it up a little bit and talk. Let's see who's in here. Oh, Barrett's there. Let's see if we get Barrett in the mix. Waiting for Barrett to join. I just sent you. I just answered your request. Let's see.
Hey!
There's the B Doss.
What's up?
B Doss? How you feeling?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. We're on here just jawing it up with the family, talking about
What's
talking
up,
a little
guys?
implicit bias, a little unconscious bias.
Ooh, good
What did
topic, Jason.
I know you saw the video that I dropped the other day, and
Of course.
I hope it made some kind of sense. But,
Oh my God, it was amazing. I'm also, in addition to being a Black woman, I'm also left-handed, so I felt that deep. One of the things I was excited about this project was the idea that, we all synthesize information differently, we all hear, take in our environment, we take in especially all the stuff that we're learning right now, and we have to sort of figure out what it means to us, as individuals, and define these ideas and terms in language that we understand, and then also understand how these things might not actually, even if they don't impact me personally, it doesn't mean that we don't participate in it. It doesn't mean that we don't we can't help.
Yeah.
as we walk out in the world and try to be actively anti-racist, right? Like that is the goal now. We need that. We need everybody to participate in that. And we have such an awesome group that stands so squarely on the side, I think, of justice.
Trying, right?
Yeah.
And that's all we can do. I love the fact that, I mean, when you had the idea, I got super excited about it. You know, I got geeked out because I was like, I said, Barrett, you're a genius. You're a damn genius, Barrett. Because if you are in the world, then you need to be a part of this change in the world.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and so it doesn't always have to be massive things, but each little thing can have massive waves. I mean, I my mom's a teacher, and I remember, when she was her talking about how they did some studies on how often teachers tend to call on boys far more often than they call on girls, and how much of a difference that makes. Yeah. And and then I had a friend who hit me with that left-handed thing, and I never even realized you were left-handed. But it's just those little things. I mean, and you're an athlete. I mean, do you remember when they were teaching you to how to shoot a basketball?
Well, I always say that's kind of why I play my sports, like all my sports, with my right hand. I tend to dominate with my right side. When I played soccer, I was, I played on the right side. I shoot with my right hand, but I eat left-handed. I write left-handed. So I'm always like, I guess I'm ambidextrous, but I probably learned to use my right hand because that's what we were taught. That's how that's what you see. And so that's how you respond, which honestly, it kind of brings us back to the topic, right? Like what you were talking about. I took some of those tests.
How'd you do?
I mean, I frankly did pretty well, but what's interesting too, is that it kind of brought up for me, I mean, what does it mean to do well on one of those tests? Like if you try, like, if it's like, well, you don't seem to think either way about anything, which is, right. I guess that's where we would hope to be, but I didn't take all of them. So I would be interested if I went back and did more, if I would find that there's actually more discrepancy in other areas, like other blind spots.
That's a huge point, because there's always some other spot. Like I at SAG-AFTRA, I chair this committee, the Diversity Advisory Committee, which is kind of like the United Nations of underrepresented communities. And we have this really, really powerful, loud, vocal, not taking any more bullshit committee of performers with disabilities. And it's dope because people don't think in those terms most times. And they're like, do you realize that, like, they are the largest minority in the country? Because I mean, we think we think when you get older, your eyesight starts to go, your hearing starts to go. Well, that's not it. That's not a person with disability. That's it. And they're like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not just people who are, it's not just people who don't have the use of their legs or who are deaf or blind. It's people who are neuroatypical. Who their brains work differently than a lot of other folks do. All these different kinds of diversity that is beautiful in its own way. And and so it's and there's always something else that you weren't thinking about. To your point. So there's always another test to take to see, oh, you know what? Because we all got his
spot. Yeah. And what I thought was so interesting about those tests, it really made me think about representation, right? And what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Does the bias come before? Like, where do you learn those things? How do you ingest that? And what I realized is we ingest this information, this like cultural information, all the time. We are fed these associations in media and obviously print and like just walking around the street, but how everything is set up to send us messages, right?
whether they think it is or not, it is. It's always sending a message.
Exactly. So I was taking one of these tests, and I'm not sure if there are like rules about if you can talk about what's on them, but it was so interesting. I took one with like violence that was trying to figure out associations between race and like harmful objects like weapons and harmless objects. Right? And as I was seeing these harmless objects, you know, one was like a can of Coke, and one was a Walkman, and one was, you know, and then you start making one was a camera, like an old school camera. And I was like making all these other associations beyond just like race. And like, I was like, well, like who drinks Coke? Like I was like starting to like make
soup can, Andy Warhol. You're going like,
and you start to realize we're constantly making these associations. So what's so great about thinking about this is it really sort of it forces you to get down to like base level. And when the whole point is you should start questioning these things and these associations that you make internally, because you don't even realize that we've been programmed. Like
from the, you know, putting the girl in the pink dress and the boy in the blue, you know, we're gonna paint your room blue, your room pink. Immediately you're sending a message and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
The funny part is my kids' rooms are pink and blue. But
well, and I love pink. Like, so what? But you know, there was a whole period of my life when red was my favorite color, and I was like, no, get that other stuff, get that away from me. You know, it was. So it's but it is it's fascinating, and when you start questioning those things, and that's sort of what our goal is, I think, with this project, is to like. We all should be thinking about this more. It's so easy to be complacent. It's so easy to be apathetic. It's so easy to repost something, you know, but like when it comes down to it, what we want to do is we all want to continue this conversation. We want to keep talking about these issues. So like, you know, that was part of the reason why we wanted to go for 19 weeks, because that's a long time in the future. It actually, with our project running one word or term per week, it'll lead us up to the week before the November election. So
funny that.
Wonder why.
That worked out. I see what you did there.
We want to educate people and like help people understand and work through the issues that we're working through ourselves. And you know, we're not experts, and you know, we're not authorities, but we're also trying to do a little research and think through these issues, and then, you know, ask you guys to do the same with us. So it's really exciting. And I hope that everybody sticks with it.
I just saw somebody, who is this? Candace J513 just said, this is not performative, this is a movement.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the point. That's exactly it. I mean, Barrett and I, we talked about this a long time, and the rest of our friends who are doing 19 for 20. The whole point was to try and get you guys having a conversation, because it's a global conversation. Yeah. People are marching in the streets all over the world right now. And really, that's what makes me so hopeful about where we're going, is that people are saying, yeah, why? It's not just the problem of the people who are the target of the ism. It's, you know, racism is not just the problem of the person who is Black. Racism is the problem of everybody who lives in this culture, everybody who lives in this world. So to try and have a conversation, and to make it comfortable to be able to call yourself out when you know you misstep. I have friends who are very quick to say, "Why we got to be guys?" And I'll say, "Good point." And so I catch myself. And when you own your own junk, you empower other people to kind of say, "You know what? Yeah, let me not get defensive when somebody points out some of my biases, because we all have them." If you can just listen and go, "Oh, I hear that. I see how that made you feel a certain way. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. And I'll work hard to change that in how I speak with people and how I get down in the world." This is so funny. We have so many fans of the show. There's some folks from Australia. I'm looking. If you guys have questions, I'd love to hear what you guys think about implicit bias. If any of you happen to take those tests, the links that I threw up, I would love to hear what you came across. So if you've had discoveries or experiences, I'd love to hear what those were. This is another point that I want to talk about. I'm gonna go deep here for a second. I'm gonna go real deep here on you, Barrett. I've told this story before, publicly, but when I was in 5th grade, so I would have been roughly 10 years old, 10, 11 years old. I was one of the bigger kids in elementary school because I shot up early, and then everybody caught me and then started to pass me. I'm the short end of tall, the tall end of whatever. I'm like 5'11". Point being, I was rough. I was not far from this even in elementary school. I got up there early. So when we played football, I was a terror. I was rolling over kids and everything like that. And one of the smaller kids was there, and we were playing a game that, and here's the funny part, back in the day, it was called, they called it Smear the Queer. And nobody thought twice about it, except for, I'm sure, the gay kids. I'm sure the gay kids had issue with it.
No kidding.
And we were playing the game, and the whole point of the game is there's no teams. It's whoever's got the ball. Your job is to hold on to the ball as long as you can. And then everybody else is trying to tackle them. And so it's just to prove how good you are at the game, how fast you are, how tough you are, blah, blah, blah. And the kid who had the ball, I tackled him, and I laid him down, and he was one of the smaller kids at the time. And like I said, I was one of the bigger kids, and he was mad, and he called me a nigger in the moment. And literally, I saw red. And to this day, I truly believe that there's such a thing as blacking out with anger, because I don't remember the next few seconds until I started to actually come to, if you will.
Yeah.
And I realized my hands were, I had him in, I was choking him out, and he was purple in the face. And there were about 3 kids trying to separate us, and I had him locked up. They could not get me off of him, and he was, and I realized, I became instantly, I can't necessarily say as scared as he was, because I wasn't going to die, but maybe the most scared I've ever been in my life, except for when I thought I was going to die, because I realized I completely lost control. I completely lost it. And so I let him go, and that kid and I had issues for years, but we were in a lot of the same classes. We were in a lot of the same organizations, and it was always kind of standoffish, except for the problem was the kid was smart and the kid was funny. And I like to think that I can be smart and I can be funny, and and he'd have a good idea, or I'd have a good idea. And over years, eventually, we became friends. And not only become friends, we became best friends. He is to this day one of my best friends. And what's crazy about it is understanding we had gotten in this space where we're talking about implicit bias. He understood enough in 5th grade to know that that word would hurt me.
Yeah.
He understood he understood enough about how prejudice worked, and he had enough of his own biases to understand that it would hurt me. He didn't understand the degree to which it would.
Right.
And we've talked about it so many times since. And he said, literally, I don't even have to, he just talks about the pain it causes him that he was that kid. So when I knocked him down and tackled him in the game and hurt him and embarrassed him in front of other kids, he wanted to hurt and embarrass me.
Sure.
And he didn't realize the disparity. He couldn't realize it because he's never been, there is no word for a white person that comes to that level that the word nigger does for a black person. There is no equivalent.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about it in so many other things over the course of years, and it was the beginning of exposure for him. And I like to say one of my superpowers is being able to understand people on the other side of the aisle, because he's exposed me to a lot, and we found that middle ground. And it's one of those things where you talk about implicit bias, and I know mine. And another thing that happens is we assume that where people are is where they will always be. We like to think that if somebody does something racist, they are a racist, they will always be a racist, and they can never come from the land of racistville. Yeah. And what I'm saying, and what's interesting to me, and the reason why I tell this story, is the grayscale, that there's a whole spectrum between here and there, and people move at different points in their life based on their experiences. I have a friend who she's got a couple of years under her belt, and her father was in World War II, and he said he remembered he knew some guys who were deep Southerners, very racist, but changed their tune in a lot of ways when the Tuskegee Airmen came along and saved their butts in the middle of a firefight. There's no atheists, and there's no racism goes out the window when you need the black guy to back you up, and save you. So it was just, it's just
Well,
interesting,
I
you know.
mean, shit, man. It's like we realize like we're all just people trying to
Yeah,
figure our shit out. You know, and that's why all of this is so frustrating. Is the more work you do, the more reading you do, the more educating of yourself you do when you're actually reaching out to those resources that give you, you know, that are from the people who are the experts. It makes me more angry, you know, because
yeah,
you realize
yeah, yeah,
how these um, these unwritten laws and codes are baked into our world now,
yeah.
you know, and
They're
how much
encoded.
work it takes to undo what's been done, but it's possible, you know, with exposure and like educate. I mean, I've been reading a lot lately, obviously, like everyone else, and the you know, the more I read, the more pissed off I get that I didn't learn some of this stuff in school, you know,
It's
which
deep, right? It's
again,
deep.
like, why is
Well,
that, you know?
oh, this is dope. Cozy BB just said her great uncle was a Tuskegee Airman, which is dope. I just had to shout
Amazing.
that out. But you talk about history. My brother and I were talking yesterday, and he was telling me about a one of the only really successful slave revolts happened in Mexico. And apparently, there's a city in Mexico called Yanga, and they have a statue of Yanga, an African, like an African man with a machete, because they ran up to the hills and held off the Spanish army for so long that finally the Spain just said, "All right, you know what? To hell with it. What do y'all want? What do you want? Because we give up. We can't do this anymore. Y'all are," and they got a town. They got a town out of it. And I was like, where was that in my history book? Why didn't I
Yeah,
get that when I was a kid? There would have been a, you know,
I know. But
it's a
yeah, just
fascinating
that,
thing.
but that idea that, you know, and I know we obviously we work in Hollywood, and so my mind, you know, the issue is so much bigger,
Yeah.
clearly. But, you know, when I think about the job that we get to do and what it means to be, uh, to see representation in the media, you know, when we start pairing images and words, which some of these tests are asking you to do, right? You understand how much certain images have been used
Mm-hmm.
to make sort of what we would now call natural affiliations between one thing or another, but really it's just training, you know.
Yeah.
So
We get trained.
normalizing things
This is
and
the way the world, you're told this is the way the world works. So you act that way in the world.
yeah,
You know, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we're trying to break that chain right now.
yeah.
It was
Well,
interesting. Yeah.
I want to give other people a chance. I want to give some fans a chance. Or Jaina's in here still. I want
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
You know, I love
Um,
talking to you. We can
I
talk
know.
all day.
I know. Much love, darling. Much love, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah,
But hang on, because we're gonna keep talking with folks.
yeah. I'm gonna stick around.
Uh, who is this? Conceited Mika. That is the most hilarious handle, by the way. I'm gonna give it to you. Said, but if a person can say the bigger word and doesn't know our history, they're just repeating what they hear, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of implicit bias. They've heard this word, they know it's a hurtful word, but you don't know. I mean, look, you can call somebody a jerk, and they're not going to fly up and try and kill you. You don't know. You need to have some understanding of the level of pain that's coming with it, and you can't fully understand. You can't live. You can't walk in somebody else's shoes. You can't live in their skin, so you'll never understand how much it hurts to receive that from somebody. But you know, and we've talked about it, and he said we've shed tears about it. He's shed tears about it to me about how much it pains him that he used that word out of ignorance and didn't realize the pain that it would cause. And I said, but you felt it, didn't you? He said, yeah, I felt it real quick. And we've gotten close enough that we can joke about it. And so that's what we're trying to get to. Let's see. I'm going to see if we can bring up some other folks. Where would I go to see if we can bring up some other folks? Let's see. If you guys want to try and get into the videos, let's give me a shout, send a request, and I will try and see if I can get you on. Because I want to talk to you guys. I want to talk to you and see what's up. So send me a request to join up, and I'll see if I can't pull one of you up. Let's see who. I've learned so much more than my own research and through my own research and listening to people who are educated about this subject than in history books. You know, that's the thing. I mean, history literally is his story. It's written by the people who are in charge, and that is what it is. And so the key is you've got to seek it out, and the other part is we've got to demand of people in power that they broaden what they expose kids to in school, that they diversify the books that they ask people to read. Because it's a big world. It's a big world out there, and we got to demand that they start showing us as much as they can. Let's see. I want to get some of y'all on, but I'm tech unsavvy. I'm so unsavvy. So I don't know how to click in with some of you and invite you. Where did all the requests go? I'm trying to pull, I had requests at the beginning, and so I'm trying to pull some of you guys in to see if it's interesting. If somebody wants to shoot me a request, I'll see if I can't pull you in and we can chop it up a little bit, talking about the biases that we have. Because it's, I mean, look, in America, you know, and I know a lot of you are in different parts of the world, we're, oh, who is this? Is it well with my soul? Said, I took many of the tests. I was shocked as a female feminist to discover I had strong biases against women in male-dominated fields. They're eye-opening. See, that's what I'm talking about. Go ahead. I'm so glad you checked it out. That's exactly the thing about it. Because we know what we consciously believe, and we know what we consciously want the world to be like, but we've still ingested all of this information around us, and it's our job to recognize it in ourselves and challenge it. You know, and it may, and you know, it's kind of like I said in the video, it's like reflex. It's like if something's coming at your head, reflex means a reaction is going to happen. And if you're not trained, then that reaction is a flinch. You duck, you flinch, whatever. But if you train your body, you train your reactions, your body still says you have to have a reaction, but you train that reaction to be productive, to be a block, or to duck appropriately, not just to flinch and not really get out of the way. So that to me is what we're trying to do. We're trying to recognize these implicit bias reflexes and to actually train it so that we can do something productive with it. Yeah, you might have a natural reaction to, even though you're a woman and you consider yourself feminist, you may have this deep-seated information that was given to you that says that women shouldn't be in male-dominated fields. Now, you may be trying to react against that. You know, the subconscious thing you have that says that may be why you consider yourself feminist, because consciously you're trying to do better. But it's still where you're coming from, not necessarily where you're going. And so that's the kind of differences that we're trying to find in ourselves and come to understand and bring up. Let's see. Where is the Barrett there? Where did all those... Let's see if I can find the request to go live. Nope. All right. I'm sorry about this, y'all. Sorry about me being so tech unsavvy. So who's this? Yeah, some just say it to get up under your skin. Who is this? A conceited Mika. Yeah, I hear you, Mika. I hear you. So let's see. I'm going through y'all's comments because I want to see. I'd love to know if any more of y'all took the test. And with work and conscious effort, implicit bias can change as well. Yes, it can. That was from Gabby 1316. I can't tell y'all enough. The tests are fun and you learn things about yourself, and it just makes you to think things in a different way. You know. Let's see. What are you talking about? I love you guys too. This is fun. I'm from Indiana. Okay. From Indiana. Okay. Who's on? You know what? I'm going to tap. You know, Conceited Mika, I'm going to try and see if I can bring you on. Conceited Mika's dropped a couple of things. Let's see if she's around, if she wants to come on. We're checking to see. If any of y'all want to come on, by the way, just shoot a request. Because this was the whole point of this project. The whole point of 19 for 20 is trying to have a conversation with y'all. I'm a technological idiot, but we're trying to have a conversation with y'all and trying to get y'all more used to having these conversations with friends and family and making it comfortable. You know, it's always going to feel uncomfortable at first. But the analogy I use is not everything that's uncomfortable is bad. You know, it's uncomfortable to work out. It's uncomfortable to stretch. But, you know, it's uncomfortable to lift weights. But you're better on the other side of it, right? You got to lean into that discomfort and understand what's the big difference between discomfort and pain. Hey, is that Mika?
Hi. Hello.
Hey, Mika, how you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Better now that I'm talking with you. Better now that I'm talking with you. You were saying some really good points here. I was your comments were coming up, and I was feeling what you were saying. You want to share with folks what some of the things that you were commenting?
Mainly what I was saying, you have a lot of people that's very biased. They only think one way instead of thinking both ways. Because you have some people that I'm going to say this. They only think that way because how they was raised, I'm going to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's where it comes from, right? You know, we teach our kids, and that's our job, and that's natural. But we don't always realize some of the things we teach our kids. Like, you know, the example for me was, you know, my daughter's my athlete. My daughter's my athlete.
Mine's too.
So I joke about, you know, that I put, you know, we put Pink in a room, just not even think we just, you know, went with her furniture and that sort of thing. But the reality is she's going to do what she's going to do. And so she's out there balling, like hooping up and like, you know, breaking some ankles on the fellas on the court. And she loves, that's her favorite thing to do is find some boys who talk trash and, you know, and juke them out their shoes. And so that to me is who she is. And if I ever did anything to tell her, don't follow that path, which is definitely her path, it would hurt my heart so much. You know what I mean? Parents do it, but it's not. But they don't do it consciously. That's why they call it unconscious bias. You know what I mean? It's everything you're saying. Now, how old's your daughter?
She's 13. She's good. She actually ran track for a team called Twin City.
Okay.
She's like a long distance runner.
Okay. You know,
3,000.
I ran track.
Yeah.
I do my. You know.
She's standing right here. She want to say hi. Is that okay?
Sure.
Gianna, why you ran?
Gianna ran away. Where you going, Gianna?
Okay.
Gianna, don't run.
Shy now.
See, she's getting in practice. That's what she's doing. She took off running because she's going to try and get an 800 meter in real quick. Yeah. What distance does she run? Like I said, you know, because you know I ran.
She do 3,000. That's like 7 laps around.
Yep.
She came in second place.
All right. Okay.
Second. And
I see you, Gianna.
Yeah, you hear her?
No, I'm just saying, you know.
You don't want to say hi to him? He's the guy for Station 19.
Gianna, come here.
I always watch.
Come here, Gianna.
He said, come here.
Come here, Gianna.
Hey. Say hi.
Hi.
How you doing? So you're running. You're running. What is it? What did you say? The 7,000? What do you run?
3,800, 400, and 15,000.
1,500.
Yeah, 1,500.
I'm not 15,000.
See, I was not fast enough to be the top sprinters, but not long distance enough to be the long. I was hurdles and everything. I did I was captain of my track team my senior year of high school. I did the long jump and triple jump, the 300 meter high hurdles, 110 meter 300 meter intermediate hurdles, the 110 meter high hurdles. We did the relay, the 4x4. I used to be able to run my 50-second quarter mile when I was a kid and jump 21 feet. But I'm old now. Don't get old because I can't do that no more. So
well, this year the track meets was canceled due to the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
So they couldn't finish out the season. We supposed to went to Atlanta where they always have like the big track meets where everyone come from everywhere and run against each other. But it didn't happen this year. And she was ready this year, but it got all canceled out. So hopefully next year will come and she'll be well prepared. She can't practice right now due to all of this that's going on. But hopefully this can blow over and we can get back to our regular life.
Hopefully it will all pass. But let me ask you this question, bringing it back to what we've been talking about,
Okay,
implicit bias and unconscious bias. Have you ever felt anyone in her, the institution, the school, whatever, anyone treating the male athletes different than the female athletes? Have you seen that happening in her work?
Yes, due to the fact that we don't have a lot of girl activities.
Mm-hmm.
We only have just cheerleaders, and here in our neighborhood, they only focus on the football more so than the cheerleaders. And that's something that, as a coach, I was coaching for a park here that I was raised up on and also cheered here, which it used to be more a lot of people that was active in the community that went to like the parks and cheered, and they focus more so on the football. Again, they don't care, and they'll say that they don't care nothing about the cheerleaders. They're just a bunch of noise. But if you look at it, that's what keep the boys hype on the field.
Yeah, yeah.
And keep them going and running up and down the field. And just to get a girl something to do. So, it's like...
Because we do a medical show, right? So I have a lot of friends who are doctors and first responders and EMTs and that sort of thing. Guess who goes to the hospital the most? Guess what sport in school sends people to the hospital the most?
Football.
Cheerleading.
Cheerleader? Yeah, because they get thrown up, yeah.
And throwing them up in the sky in the whole 9 yards, the backflips. The reality is football players are wearing crazy amounts of pads. They got a lot of protection on. They got a lot of pads on. The concussions happen there, and people expect the concussions happen there, so they're preparing for the concussions to happen there. People are not thinking about the fact that these girls are doing backflips, getting launched in the sky, doing crazy stunts that result in concussions sometimes, that sort of thing. I'm just saying where the focus gets towards the boys and not as much towards the girls, it's that implicit bias that we're talking about.
But we don't have I'm going to say we don't even have like a real big basketball team either.
Right,
Mainly boys. Like when you ask a coach, when are you going to start a boys team? Because I want my daughter, because of her height, she's 5'6". I want her to start doing stuff other than just track. And I was trying her with cheerleading, but it didn't work out. So I was trying to do the basketball teams, but it's like the guys, they don't really like to work with the girls. I don't know why.
I think that would be that implicit bias we were talking about. Except for sometimes that unconscious bias ain't so unconscious. Sometimes it's very conscious.
I guess because girls, I'm going to say, I guess I'm assuming right now, because they get so in their feelings more so than a guy will.
You know what? But my thing is, you don't know that until you meet the person. You know what I mean? You don't know that until you meet the person. My daughter's a beast and she's focused about her thing. She'll have feelings later, but like anybody else will. But she's not. The assumption that because she's a girl, she's going to get more in her feelings on the court. That's that self-fulfilling prophecy we're talking about. Well, you're setting them up for failure, so you don't even give them a chance. So they already failed, never even got a chance.
Right. And I think what is going on with the people here, they don't try to give the girls a chance. Yeah. I think they need more patience than, because I'm going to say this is another thing too. You have teams here, they have kids that like to play football, but they'll put them on a bench and make them sit with the ones that they like the most, or they know the parent and they have the parent out playing football. I don't know if you ever experienced that they got their favorites.
Yeah, they play their favorites all day. Look, my little brother, who's actually bigger than me now, played football, and when he was in school, he was a terror. He was a beast in high school. Typical scenario, he'd run the ball 90 yards, 95 yards, and then coach would give it to his favorite to run it the last 5 or 10 to get the touchdown. So he gets the points. He gets the glory. And he gets the looks from the scouts and that sort of thing. And so you had to see through that. There's all kinds of biases that were going on, and you got to call them out. You got to fight against it, because he still got his full football scholarship and went to, he went to Howard University on a full football scholarship. So it was dope. But yo, Mika, thank you so much for checking in and talking with me. Take care of your girl. I like Gianna.
Thank you.
She seems on point. You're doing a good job as a mother.
You my favorite on Station 19. Y'all keep it up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.
On that show, okay?
Thank you so much for watching. All right.
Okay.
And keep hanging out. We're gonna keep talking with some more folks, some more fans of the show. All right.
I'm gonna stay tuned in, okay?
All right.
All right.
I'll catch you in
Bye.
a bit. All right. So let's see. I'm gonna see if we can't find somebody else to jump into a conversation with. Let's see. Who we talking about here? Send me a request if you want to jump on and chop it up a little bit. We're talking about implicit bias, unconscious bias, and then and it won't be the worst thing in the world if you want to talk about some of the work. Who's this? And someone would love to join in chat from England. From England, okay. Huh. How do I bring you up? Where'd Andy Sullivan go? Oh, apparently for some reason I'm not able to bring you up. Let's see. Let's see if anyone else wants to jump on and talk for a little bit. Jen Keller, I'm gonna holler at you for a second. Because you were saying that you're an athlete. You were saying you're an athlete. I'd love to hear more about that. Because I feel like this is one of the. Hey, Jen.
Hi. Yeah.
Hey. Oh. What's going on with the hand?
Oh, I had hand surgery yesterday.
Hand surgery for what?
It was just a tendon nerve thing. Nothing big, but.
You were punching people, weren't you? You were boxing. You were
obviously,
boxing.
Yes.
If anybody ever asks you, here's what you do. You got to make up a story that involves ninjas and swords and like 8 other people, and you won. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You got to come with a good. Have it prepared so it sounds real.
I'll prepare it next time.
Ninjas, swords. You got cut, but you won the fight.
All right, ninjas and swords. I got it down.
So you were saying you're an athlete.
Yes, I am.
Oh, what do you do? What's your sports?
Hockey and soccer are my 2 main ones.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah, I played hockey my whole life, basically. Yeah.
Ice hockey or field hockey?
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
Yeah.
So are you the enforcer? Are you the enforcer? How you get down? How do you get down?
Yeah, definitely the enforcer. Obviously it's not a female dominated sport. Like it's not a very popular girl sport, at least where I am. Right. So, but yeah, there's definitely biases between boys and girls playing hockey.
So do you play with boys and girls, or is it?
I used to play with boys because there were no girls teams for me to play on.
Right.
So,
right.
Now there are definitely more girls teams that I'm able to play on. But earlier, there was nothing I could play with girls. So, but
it makes a big difference.
Yeah, obviously it does. Yeah. The amount of times I've been told that I'm going to go nowhere in hockey, or I can't skate, you can't shoot. I was the captain of my team, but I've still been told all these things. You can't skate, you can't shoot, even though it's no difference between girls and boys.
Part of the amazing thing about unconscious bias is that it colors how you see the same facts.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you got a hat trick and he got a hat trick, they think he's amazing and they think yours was luck.
Yep.
It just colors how you see the same facts.
Yep. Yeah, it's obviously like that. I'm still young, so there's obviously not many fans, I guess, but the boys teams, you go watch a boys games, the stands are packed. You go watch a girls game, there's just the parents there. There's nobody else coming to watch the games. Right. So,
right.
Yeah.
Who shows up, because people have the bias to think, well, the boys game will be more exciting, more.
Yeah.
But they haven't seen you check somebody yet, right? They haven't seen you check somebody in the ice.
Legally, but.
Right. Right. Of course. You would never just take somebody out. You wouldn't do that.
No, never.
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely just biases like that. It's the same in soccer too. It's no difference. You go to watch a boys game, everybody's gonna think it's more interesting than it is to go watch a girls game, which I don't think is true, but that's just how it is.
Well, I mean, you watch our the U.S. women's soccer team.
Yeah.
Who dominate, destroy.
Yeah, I know they did. Yeah.
And we're not getting paid anywhere close to what the men's team was.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's like, yeah, it's the same with all like major league sports. There's no major league sport or like hockey that girls can play in. I mean, there is, but it's nowhere near as big as like the NHL is.
Exactly. And look, I'll allow for a certain amount of the real world business pieces to come in that you've got to, you know, build a brand. The WNBA hasn't been around as long as the NBA has.
Yeah.
And I'll give you that. But the reality is, when you're talking World Cup soccer, when you're talking Olympic soccer, the women sell out everything.
Yeah.
The jerseys are gone. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it obviously is. Yes. I mean, because I don't see a difference. I mean, I guess there is a difference between like girls and guys. I don't think there should be, but there still is that like people want to go watch the guys sports too, or more girls. But I mean,
an exciting game is an exciting game, and the women's soccer team never has a boring game.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're both sports. They should be interesting to watch, at least for me.
Yeah, so. and I'll even allow for the fact that, you know, like you talk about football or something like that, or that there may be fundamental differences in terms of men are typically larger, typically stronger. Mm-hmm. But once you look, I'll put it in different terms. I come from a military town, and I have a lot of friends who they said, look, all I care about is, can you carry a 200-pound person, you know, whatever it is, 100 yards, whatever the bare requirements are.
Yeah.
If you can do that, then we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that perhaps genetically there are plenty of women that might not be able to do that, but I'm not going to assume that, because believe me, I have met many women who can and get it done.
Yes. So. Yeah.
I made a good friend recently who she was a sharpshooter. She flew Tomahawk helicopters, and was like this amazing human being. And I was like, you never took no much when you were a kid. She was like, I got a lot of no, I just refused to accept it.
Yeah.
She just refused to accept it. So I'm glad you kept fighting to keep playing hockey, even though people were, not giving you the opportunities you wanted.
Yeah, I've been told by like scouts and stuff that they don't want me because I'm female, because I'm a girl and I can't do what guys can do. And I'm like, I don't understand that, but okay. Like there's nothing I can do about it, really.
Well, in my mind, you can take, what's that old, you can, there are emotions that use you up and there are emotions that you use.
Yeah.
So when people hit you with something like that, you can take it and you can let it actually be, you can hear that obstacle, or you can take it and make it fuel you and do something, do what you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's how you get down.
Yeah, it most definitely is. Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for checking in. Thanks for talking, Jen.
Yes, thank you. This was.
All right, stick around. We're going to talk a little more.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Holla.
Bye.
You guys are cool people. I'm enjoying doing this. Who's this? We got some people who are requesting to join on. Oh, you know what? Let me see if my girl Jaina's on. Just giving a shout out to Jaina Lee Ortiz, my dear friend. There she is.
Hi.
There she is. What's good?
What's going on? I've been.
Oh, you got the blonde hair going. You know I can't talk to you when you got the blonde hair going.
I look crazy. This is my crazy quarantine look.
I like it. I like it.
Mika and her daughter Gianna was so cute.
Right? Right.
And I love Jen's story. Oh my goodness. And I love Barrett, of course. Yeah. Hi, Shondaland. This has been so interesting. Barrett, thank you again for, jump starting this. And Jason, obviously, you guys are taking the lead on this. It's really, really informative and useful. And I'm learning like constantly. I have my laptop right next to me. It's never ending.
Have you tried the test yet? You got to try the test.
I tried the test. I tried a couple of the tests, and then I finished. I finished one, but then it led to like another set of tests. And some questions I had a hard time answering because I like to be specific. It was too general for me. But
right.
Aside from the tests, I know, like, I think I'm aware enough to know that I like, there are some thoughts that I have, and sometimes I'll joke around about it. And low key, I'll tell myself, damn, that was like a little racist. Maybe I shouldn't even joke around about, especially, implicit racial bias. Like, I mean, we're all at fault to it.
We all do it. I mean, it's look, I have a friend who's an actor. He's fairly successful, and he's Asian. And the old, standard comedy bit of, we'll get an Asian guy and we'll get him to talk with a funny accent, an accent that sounds funny to American ears. And it's this thing that I've literally had to have the conversations with people where, and I was on this one panel with the guy, and the white guy was going, yeah, but it is funny. And I was like, yeah, but here's the thing. Is it funny because, is it putting somebody else down? Is it funny because you're saying you're down? Like, and I had to get him because I said, here's the thing. I'm from Virginia. I have friends that if you have thick Southern accents, and if you make fun of their accent, the question is, and they'll be the person to say, it can be funny. They'll make fun of their own accent.
Right.
Because they know that it's different. They know that it hits the ear funny. They said, but as soon as I get the sense that you're trying to make fun and thinking that because I have this accent, I'm stupid, now we got a problem.
Right.
Now we got a problem. You put a hierarchy to that thing.
Right.
Right. And so so maybe we just need to chill on that in general, because until we get to that spot where we can really just say, like, there was a movie. What was that movie? There was a Matt Damon movie where they shrank him down in what was it called? Oh, it was called Downsizing. It was called Downsizing.
Yeah.
It's a weird movie, like big philosophical like movie or whatever, and about literally he gets shrunk, but it's about like getting rid of the crap in your life and getting what's important kind of thing. And the woman who is kind of turns out to be the love interest, the heroine, is an Asian woman with a crazy thick accent. And the actress is doing essentially her grandmother's accent. She said, I purposely did my grandmother's accent. But what was dope about the movie was that she's the best human being in the movie. They actually made a point of, she's the activist who like worked so hard, she's ended up sacrificing her leg. Like, and even though she like won a peace prize, she was still at the end of the day cleaning houses to make money. And she was doing that to try and get other people work as well. And so in the course of the story, it was definitely one of those things where you're like, I hear that. And it's funny when and yes, you can hear the accent. You can hear that it's funny to my ear because it's not what I'm used to hearing. But she's the person I like most. She's the smartest person in the story. She's the person actually trying to do something. And so I thought that was a cool way to kind of, for them to recognize their own bias and try and see if they could flip it and do something positive with it and say, let's not assume that because you sound different than me, that you're not as smart as me. Right.
I mean, we see it all the time, amplified on TV and film. Yeah. And, it definitely shapes the way we think, the way we behave. It shapes our actions. I mean, it's something that like we sort of mute in our minds, but now we're like, the awareness has been like,
everybody's on now. Everybody's on and paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, look, talking about accents, if you speak in a British accent, I always joke, I have a bunch of British friends. I'm like, your IQ, people think your IQ is like 20 points higher than it actually is. Just because you said it in a British accent.
That's one thing that I always tell myself, oh, of course, they have this accent. They have this British accent, and of course they're automatically considered a more talented and like I already, it's just crazy how I like automatically put them at a like a pedestal based off of their accent. It's just,
and I'm gonna throw this one at you. You say it in a Spanish accent. It's 20% sexy. It's 20% sexy. I'm just saying. Just put that out there. You can discuss it on, you know.
I know, I know, you know, I mean, it's funny, but it also is like, this is what we're kind of like, this is the culture that we're brought up into, the things that we are taught to believe in. And so like, now we're dissecting it to the point where like, we're opening our eyes into so many different other angles. And now we're like seeing, you know, the truth. We're seeing our programmed behaviors and assumptions, and you know, our friend, like everyone involved, the people we hang out with. And hi hi bias. Yeah, this is some real stuff. I'm so glad, you know,
we having conversation, Jaina. We having conversation.
And I love that you brought some other people in. That was beautiful. I love that. It's
dope. I'm gonna do more of this. I'm gonna hang out.
We have. Why not?
Oh, who is this? Candace J513 said everyone needs to watch the TEDx with Verna Myers called "How to Overcome Our Biases."
Oh, what is it? Say that again. I'm gonna write it down.
She said the TEDx. Everyone needs to watch the TEDx with Verna Myers called "How to Overcome Our Biases." Walk boldly toward them. It's so eye-opening. Okay. Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Candace. Thank you very much for dropping a little bit of extra knowledge on us. We'll check that one out as soon as we finish this up.
All right. Well, I'll give someone else a chance to talk. I don't want to. I'll keep watching, and I'll keep learning. But I know there are probably some other fans or just people in general who want to get in and maybe share a story or.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation. We're trying to make sure everybody's talking about this stuff, because that's how we're going to get it to move. Yeah. When everybody starts to actually understand it and call the BS on themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Oh, I love you, Jason.
Right. Much love, babe.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you in a bit. All right, gang. Hey, so let's see if we can grab somebody else. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go back up. I'm going to see if I can't grab. Where was? I'm gonna try and grab Candace. Candace VJ. I'm trying. Candace J513. I'm trying to holler at you.
Hey.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good. Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. Thank you.
No. You had good thoughts, so I want to check in. So, talk to me about this TEDx.
It's a TED Talk. So I really started digging into this because I'm a member of it's called the AAERG, which is the African American Employee Resource Group where I work.
Okay.
And I really started digging into this because I wanted to find how I could help the Black community, right? And I guess it's been more of like a journey for me.
But that's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
That's how anything starts. Is you start, because in order to try and make change out in the world, first thing you got to do is figure out.
Yes.
And I got to own my own stuff. And what am I doing?
Yeah. One of the things that I read was reflection is an action.
Reflection is an action.
So you have to take
now. I'm gonna write that down real quick. Reflection is an action. That's nice. I like that.
So as I was researching, I came across this TED Talk with Verna Myers, and it was so incredibly eye-opening. And the basic point of all of it was you have to unteach yourself the biases that you have. Yeah. And she told this story where she and one of her colleagues was walking. Her colleague is another person of color. She's Korean. And they were lost in the city trying to find something. Verna apparently saw a Black man across the street and said, you know what, I'm going to go ask him how to find this place. And apparently her colleague was like, you want to go ask him? And they kind of talked about that. And it's like, but how are you going to know? And how are you going to disprove your bias if you don't walk toward it and figure it out and have that conversation?
If you don't lean into the discomfort.
Exactly.
It feels uncomfortable to go up to, you're going to ask a stranger for help.
Yeah. It's
and you're
uncomfortable.
choosing which stranger, you know, and you're making, you know, you're making choices, and part of your choices are who looks like they'll respond, and you're making assumptions based on skin color, based on the expression on their face, based on the way they're dressed. It's totally true. Can I tell you a random story just because I'm thinking about it? Because when I first came to Los Angeles, I was trying to figure out LA. I was rolling around LA, checking out different places. So I went down to Rodeo Drive because you've heard about Rodeo Drive since, you know, forever. And I rolled into an art gallery and purposely rolled up, and I purposely rolled in wearing a tank top. I was about to call it a wife beater. That's one of my biases too. Ripped jeans, a tank top, and some, you know, and I was like, I think I was wearing, you know, work boots, and I rolled in, and I'm looking at a piece of art that cost $18,000. I can't afford $18,000 art, but I was new in town, and I was working on a TV show, but the show was brand new and hadn't even aired yet, right? So I just want to see what it was like on Rodeo Drive and everything like that. But I was also in this thing where I was trying to figure out, what is this show going to be like? What is, you know, am I actually going to have a career as an actor? Because this is my very first job. But I also really wanted to see, how am I going to get treated? You know, they don't know who I am. I don't know who I am yet. I don't know, you know. And so what was interesting was the guy was checking me out, and he had to, I figured out just from my version of what he did. He watched me for a while, and the fact that I was actually really looking at the art, he eventually walked over to me and said, "Can I help you? Do you have any questions about the work or something like that?" And I figured, I do think that had I been white, he would have approached me much, much sooner. I needed to kind of been vetted that I actually am checking out the art. But the other part is, he doesn't know who I am. I could be an actor on TV, which in fact I was. I wasn't an actor who could afford $18,000 pieces of art, but he didn't know that. But it's just interesting. So that's cool that you saw that. Have you had a chance to take any of the implicit bias tests, or anything? Have you had to do that for work?
I took them a few weeks ago after doing some searching, and I saw it like kind of on a resource list that we have. There's a link for implicit bias tests. So I was like, I want to take a few of these. And at first I was like, I don't really know how this is going to do any good, because I didn't understand the associations. But then I kind of started realizing. So I took one that was, it's kind of, I don't know. I took one about basically fat versus thin, right? Okay. So
another big bias that happens in the world, huge bias that happens in the world that people skip right past and don't think about.
So I didn't really ever think about it. You know, we all like to think, right? We're not biased about anyone. Like, who cares what size you are, whatever. And
we think that.
I'm not a small person, so I would think that I'm not biased on any direction, because I'm definitely not a small person. But it was interesting because the test actually showed that I was slightly kind of leaning toward or preferred the thin side. And I kind of got to thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I see my weight as a negative thing about me. So inherently, that's becoming a bias to other people.
Absolutely.
And I had to kind of come to that realization and be like, I need to check myself when I'm interviewing people, or I'm, you know, just walking around doing whatever day to day. I need to check that bias in myself that I had no idea I had.
That's a huge, huge point you just made, because here's the thing. You can be a member of a group and have a bias against that group. One of the people from Project Implicit, which is this Harvard group that is one of the groups that's involved in the bias test that I put out there for people to take. It's their test. And here's the thing. He said that he was watching the debates surrounding the last presidential election. And he said that he saw Mike Pence saying, you know, they're talking about a stop where a police officer and an African American and things went south. Things got bad. And Mike Pence was trying to make the point that, but the officer himself was black. So he couldn't possibly have a bias towards black people. And the person from Project Implicit said, he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. Everybody's gotten messages their entire life. Now, if you are a black person, you're getting these messages that black people are not equal, that are not capable of reaching certain levels. And you have to actively fight those biases within yourself in order for you to. So I not only have to fight to get through the world, I also got to fight myself to try and get somewhere. And that's true of people who are people who are plus size. They have to fight themselves as well as the world. It's true of women. There, how many women said they just couldn't see a woman being president? That just doesn't work in my brain. But I believe women are equal. I believe that women are like, do you? And we've got to check it in ourselves if we're going to get anywhere. We've got to check it in ourselves if we're going to try and make any change in the world.
So much.
So give me the name of the AAERCG LGBTQ. What is the?
It's the African American Employee Resource Group.
That's fantastic. So it's a group that's literally designed to be a resource for African Americans in the corporation.
And allies.
And allies to their situation.
Yep.
Needed those for decades in companies, and I'm glad they are starting things, and I'm glad you work there.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be part of this. Thank you so much for having a conversation with me.
And thanks for the shout out about the TEDx. We'll check it out.
For sure. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, gang, listen. We've been chopping it up for an hour or so, something like that. I just saw somebody from the 757 is checking it. Okay, I see you. I see somebody from, was it Alpha Clothiers? Who is this? Okay, I see. 757 is my hometown. That's where I grew up. So I gotta check in whenever I see somebody from the 757. I'm gonna jump off in a second, but I feel like talking to one more person. Let's see if we can bring in one more person. Let's see who we can bring in. Barbie model 17. That is fine. Gabby 1316. Who do we want to shout at? You know what? I'm gonna just because the name is too funny. Praise the Grays. I'm gonna check in with Praise the Grays, and we're gonna say, oh, I hit the wrong one. Praise the Grays. Here we go. I'm gonna holler at you for a second. We're gonna see what's up. Let's see if we.
Oh my God! Hi.
Hey, how you feeling?
I'm good. I didn't expect that.
Well, nobody expects to just get whipped up on. You're talking to a few thousand of our best friends. Yeah. How you doing? Thanks for watching the show.
Of course, it's such a great show.
Okay.
I'm not sure what to say. Wow.
No, it's okay. I'm catching an accent. Where are you from?
I'm from England.
And where are you right now?
England.
You're in England.
Mhm.
What time is it there?
2 in the morning. I don't sleep, so it's fine. But
are y'all still on shutdown?
Kind of. It's like very weird. You can go out, but you can't go out. It's just so confusing, but a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. The whole shutdown thing. I don't know how it is over there on your side of the pond, but it's been it's brought some of the best and the worst out of people over here. It's somehow the idea of being sick or trying to keep from getting sick has somehow become a political statement. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know what that's about. Has any of that happened over in London?
Yeah, I'm not near London, but yeah, but
where are you at?
I'm in a county, quite small county called Essex.
Oh, Essex, yeah.
And our Prime Minister, I don't know if you heard, he actually got coronavirus himself.
Yes.
So that's kind of just the irony of England, I guess.
Did he change his tune a little bit once he got it?
I think so, definitely. I hope so.
That's one of those things my mother would say, or my grandmother would actually say, God don't like ugly. So sometimes when you talk bad about stuff and try and poo-poo it, you might have to go through the situation just so that you get a better understanding.
Yeah, apparently he was actually shaking hands with coronavirus patients, and he was saying himself, he, don't shake hands, stay safe, and he was doing it himself. And I guess
that's part of what we're talking about, though. That's the thing about when we're talking about unconscious bias is it's very easy to consciously know what you believe. It's the do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. He's telling people to wear a mask, not shake hands, but he can't bring himself to do it. Our president has the same issue. I'm not going to give him much press time here. I'm not going to get started on it. But suffice it to say that it's people are for health's sake, people need to wear masks. But somehow it's become politicized that if you're wearing a mask, somehow you're making a statement against him, which I think people are just trying to stay healthy, just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
You just don't want to get sick. So what are you into over there? Well, besides watching great TV shows.
I actually do a thing very similar called Fire Cadets here. So you can work with firefighters. Again, you learn a lot of skills, and it's been very eye-opening to me because I do want to kind of go in that area for, future reasons. But
that's very cool. You want to be a firefighter or a first responder? EMT?
A first responder, yeah.
That is fantastic. That is cool. That is, we're talking about unconscious bias, and when I was playing with my kids earlier, and I was, my kids are, 12 years old, and I have a 16-year-old, and I was saying, if I say close your eyes and picture a teacher, picture a police officer, picture a firefighter, and we said, now what do they look like? Typically the teacher is a woman, and typically the teacher is a white woman, the police officer is a white man, and the firefighter is a white man. And I think part of the whole point conversation we're having about unconscious bias, implicit bias, is to try and make people really start to think, oh, do I have that immediate first thought? You know what I mean? And train yourself to either not have it or at least react differently. And say, why does it have to be that way? Why can't you be, do you have mentors that are female firefighters?
No, none of them are female. Not one, a single. They're all lovely, but they're just, none of them are female, and it's crazy to just, but my station I go to is quite small, so understandable, but I've visited a few stations, and I've not seen a single female firefighter where I'm nearby. So
well, hopefully you'll be changing that for the next round of folks who, so they'll have someone to look up to thinking, I can do that. And they'll have somebody when they get into the cadet program, they'll have somebody who can actually show them the ropes and explain to them some of the things that, make a difference, if there's in fact any kind of difference, or just somebody that they can vent to. That's important. I've been having a lot of conversations about that with friends who are, Black Black actors, Black directors, and that sort of thing, and just talking about how it would have been nice to have had people to just to have mentors, that looked like you, that understood your experience a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Being a Black actor or being a female firefighter, it'd be nice. So you're going to have the opportunity to do that for other people on down the line.
Thank you.
Much love. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, gang. So listen, I'm going to jump now. We've been on for a little over an hour and change. And I think if you haven't taken the test yet, go take, there's a bunch of different tests. You don't just take one. And the tests all test your views about, race, your views about gender, your, in sex. Because listen, when you become conscious of bias, we give it a name. If it's a bias based on race, we call that racism. If it's a bias based on gender or sex, we call that sexism. When it's and we call it cissexism if you have a bias towards transgender people because they transitioned from their cisgender that they were born into. Cisgender is the gender you're born into, and then you transition to the gender that you're truly meant to be. So cissexism is a bias towards transgender people. If you have a bias towards LGBTQ people, gay people, homosexuals, we call that homophobia, right? You may have heard these terms, but I'm just saying there's one for everything. Xenophobia is a fear of people from other countries because xeno comes from the Latin word for stranger. So xenophobia is a phobia of people that come from other places. There are so many, people have bias towards people with disabilities, and they have an uncomfortability comes into play. There's so many tests for all these different things on that site, and it's a useful thing to learn about yourself. Because I'm a big believer that if you're not growing, if you're not learning, then you're dying slowly. So check them out. Keep having these conversations. Have these conversations with your friends and lean into that uncomfortable conversation. Do it with respectfulness. I can speak respectfully to everybody, even if I don't respect you, or even really with some folks, if I don't respect you, I will always speak respectfully because that's the respect I have for myself. So if we do that and we listen to each other, this conversation is going to keep going and it's going to get better and better and better. So, oh, hold on. Who is this? You know what? I'm going to try and holler at this. Jade Millie said, speaking of bias, I have a powerful poem on white privilege that I would love to share. Maybe next time. Hold on. I'm going to try and, Jade Millie, I'm going to holler at you just because I would love to hear that poem, and we'll go out on that. So let's see if we can get Jada Emily. Let's see. I'm hoping I'm not butchering her name too much. Let's see if we can get her on. We're trying to bring on Jada Emily. He says you had a poem about white privilege. Let's see if we can get her. Let's see if we can get her. If anybody's next door to Jada Emily, go holler at her. Oh, nope, she's unable to join. She's off right now. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, we'll pick it up. Check out on Monday, Alberto Frezza, my good friend Alberto, my boy, is going to be talking about systemic racism and what he understands that to mean, and what his experience getting to understand that better. And yeah, keep having the conversation, y'all. Much love. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.